Let's see, record. Boom. We're good. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Bro, I remember back during the pandemic,
All right, it
Zoom
works.
was like the biggest thing. Now nobody uses it.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the school that I used to go to, the School of Dreams Academy. They were so cheap that they did Google everything, like Google Classroom, Google Docs. They didn't use Microsoft or Word or Zoom or anything. And when I went to the second school, the Los Lunas High School, they their laptop budget, like their budget for computers, was almost the entire budget of the entire School of Dreams. It was like $2 million just on computers. We got the brand new MacBook Airs, and at School of Dreams, we got like these little shitty $80 Chromebooks.
What? What, dude?
Okay, let's
Budgeting.
see.
Budgeting
Yeah.
is very interesting.
Well, School of Dreams was like a charter school. So they were like a private school, but they got government funding and they had to
Okay.
accept everybody because they were funded by the government. So it was
Ah.
like a public school with extra steps and way less budget. It was a school for weird kids.
Hmm. Hmm. Obviously you went there because you're pretty fucking weird, but yeah.
All right, bro. I only went there for like one semester, so the effect was pretty minimized. I was homeschooled for most of my life, though. So that's
Ah,
probably where most of the weirdness comes from.
interesting, interesting. Well, I was not homeschooled, but I wish I was. Like, personally, if I had to pick for my future kids, I would definitely homeschool them. Like, personally,
For sure.
I do not want to put anyone through the education system today. Like, there's too much external influence, I'd say. Um, like you can't really like get to pick like what like exactly like what your kid is gonna be learning like to the T. And so they're kind of subjected to other people's like influence on a deeper level. And it's like if there's one kind of thing that you don't want them to think about and they start like thinking about it, it's like, nah. Like,
Yeah, especially here, bro. You don't want to go to public school here. I don't know if this is a big thing over there in Europe, but here in the US, if your kid is
I heard, yeah.
transgender, like gender dysphoria, which is what it used to be called, the school can give your kids hormone therapy without telling you, without getting your permission,
That is
and they keep it a
crazy.
secret from you.
Like, he's not even a fully functioning human. He's not even like mature. He's not even like he doesn't even understand what is life. And the person is like, "Oh, do you want to cut your penis off, my friend? Like, what the fuck?"
Dude, when I was 8, I thought I was like a robot. I would have been
Interesting.
screwed if I thought I was a chick. Like,
Yeah, like, wait, what the fuck? Like, why do you have to say like, why do you get a say in who I want to be? Like, why would I like, huh?
yeah. And it's sad too because most of those people actually have like a mental disability, but then everyone just goes along with it. Like
Some,
these guys
yeah, yeah.
need care. Like I think I think that we should just push it to the absolute max. Like see how crazy it can get. We should say, okay, so if a man who thinks they're a woman gets to be transgender, let's take it up a next step, right? A schizophrenic person who thinks that they're always talking to different people, let's add them to the LGBTQ. Let's call them, I don't know, two-spirited, but that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, it's already happened. Yeah, it's already a thing.
Uh-oh. 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 Wasn't there something stupid along the lines of I think I heard this somewhere, I don't remember where. Somebody was talking about uh including pedophiles in the LGBT community.
Yeah,
It was
as
like,
MAPs, minor
what,
attracted
dude?
person.
Attracted to minors? Like, what, dude? Like, hello? Are
Yeah,
you
no,
like okay?
I'm pretty sure you
I
should, rot in prison
yeah, or die in the video game
in Minecraft.
in
We
Minecraft.
should
Yeah, yeah.
put them all in prison and burn them in Minecraft.
In Minecraft. Yeah, yeah.
But it's honestly sad though, because like those are people's kids, and they have like a mental disability. They're not right. And then we just enable
Mm.
it when these guys should be going to therapy and talking to people and improving their own life and fixing their mental health. We're just gonna
I
have
think
a
the
whole
problem is
generation.
like there's a lot of focus on that kind of like agenda because it's like something that's been pushed. It's not something that to actually help people. Like I feel like it's more to satisfy other people's agenda than to actually like really help the people that actually like I don't even know how you feel gender dysphoria or whatever the fuck it's called. Like I don't know how that feels. I haven't experienced it, so I can't really say like yes, I relate. Like it's very strange to me to like to understand like that like I sure you have your own preferences, like you get to choose whatever you want to do, like go for it, but like I think the biggest problem is like just being an activist. Like people are activists, like vegan activists, LGBT activists, gay activists. Like it's like, dude, just do your own thing and leave people alone. Like even religion, like it used to be that. It's like if you do not convert, you will die. Like what the fuck? It's like, calm down, dude. Like, you've got your own stuff. I've got my own stuff. Like, we can talk about it. We don't have to beat each other up or like insult each other. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's perfectly reasonable, right? As long as you're over 18 and you're your
Yeah.
own human being, you should be able to do whatever you want reasonably, but don't like get in my way about it, you know?
Yeah, like, don't like point a gun at me and say, convert to Islam. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, please change gender or I'm gonna shoot you. It's like, hello?
Yeah, so in like the more radical forms of Islam, when you die, you go to heaven and there's a bunch of virgins there for you. Do you know about that?
Okay. Interesting.
I
No,
saw
I
this
did not
meme
know.
and it was like this Islamic guy in heaven and Allah or God or whatever they call him is standing there and he's like, "Okay, here's your 70 virgins." And it's all like these hunchback guys sitting at their desks with like body pillows.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I feel like Islam is all right, you know. It's not I feel like as an American, I've kind of been conditioned to not like people that are
Yeah,
Islamic just
that's probably
because,
true. Yeah.
the whole war in Afghanistan. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, as long as they're not blowing themselves up, they're good people.
Like, honestly, I think the biggest problem is like in Western culture, there's um like culture of the Middle East has been a lot like attached to like terrorism and whatever. And so some people like think like, oh, saying Allahu Akbar is bad. Like it's like it's insulting. Like it's offensive. Like no, it's actually like a prayer. Like it's it's actually like it means God is great. It's like it's not like it's just in like not your language. Like it's like somebody like in French saying like God is great. It's the same thing. It's just not your language. Like it doesn't really mean like it's gonna be offensive to that person. Like I I think you should be able to just think whatever you want to think and believe whatever you want to believe, but you have to keep in mind that a lot of people push their own like version of history that's not exactly accurate. For example, do you know what the Ottoman Empire is?
I've heard of it. I didn't really learn about it in school at all, like
Yeah.
zero, but I've heard of it for sure. I'm pretty sure I've
Yeah,
played as one of their characters in some video games.
like that's like that was like one of the huge parts of history. Like it used to be an empire that like spanned for like over 500 years from the 14th century to like basically World War II. And they were on the side of the Nazis during World War II and they got destroyed. It's they nobody actually like gets taught that in history class in the Western like societies. Like I'm sure in America you've not been taught, and Europe you're not taught. Like there's a certain vision like of history, like nothing really like is like real. Like for instance, like I was born in France and raised there, so I I learned a lot through the education system. And whenever you go to history class, they teach you like, oh yeah, the French never surrendered really. We always fought back. It's like, dude, you raised the white flag and you bent the knee. Shut up, dude. Like, what the fuck? Like, there's a certain version of history. It's like kind of lying and twisting words, and I feel like that's just like not like it's not meant to build the like somebody that with a critically thinking mind, like to actually think for themselves. Like it's like, oh, believe this and that's it. Like what?
Yeah, we don't learn about anything actually important, right? I always knew it
No,
was kind of
yeah.
weird
I mean,
because,
the only thing important that you learn is reading, writing, math, and maybe like public speaking.
yeah, well, I mean, learning history is very important, right? Because if you understand the
Yeah,
past, you could
I
better
agree.
understand the future. But I always thought it was kind of fishy that the good guys had won every single war ever,
Yeah, that's
you know?
interesting. Yeah.
And a lot of the things that I learned after school were mind blowing. Like, you know what the Taiping Revolution was in China?
Oh no.
Exactly. Nobody does. But what's weird is that it was the second most lethal war in history, just topped by World War II.
Oh.
Something like 30, 40 million people died in the Taiping Revolution. And it was around the same time as the US Civil War, like 1850s, early 1860s. And it was this guy who thought what's weird is it was a Christian war too. Even weirder that we
Oh
don't learn
yeah.
about it.
That
It
doesn't
was a
surprise me
guy.
actually.
Yeah, I know. But it was a guy that thought he was like the brother of Jesus, like another incarnation of God. And he started this whole big religious movement that turned into a civil war in China. Insane amounts of people were killed, tens of millions, right? We never learn about it.
Okay.
And something else that's really interesting is how much power corporations had in the 1800s and early 1900s across the
Mm.
world. Like the East India Company, I think it was called, they had their
Oh
own
yeah, yeah.
military. And the United States government and big corporations were pretty much one, right? People say, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
corporations have too much power now. But back in the 1800s, there was
But they
still
used to
all of
control
this.
information.
Yeah. Back when the gold rush and the mining rush and the oil boom happened, there was all of this territory in the Americas that had never really been built, right? There was a bunch of settlers and stuff, but no one had built like industrial bases out there. And so what these corporations did is they went out there with company towns. These were towns where
Mm.
people would live and they would earn money, but in company credits that they could only spend at the company store.
Mm.
What's even weirder is that when these company towns realize, hey, I think we're getting screwed over here, we're basically slaves, the US military stepped in and shot everybody that was rebelling.
Ah.
There's so many cases
Like
where the
bending the
people,
rules so that you can legally say, no, 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 we were self like defending ourselves. Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Too many cases of company towns that woke up and were like, yo, we're basically
Mm.
slaves. The military comes in, shoots them all, and then it doesn't go on the news at all because they control all the information.
Mm.
It's crazy, man.
I feel like some like parts of history that have like really interested me that I've never learned in school was the story of the Ottoman Empire. Um, Probably the shogunate in like Japan. Like I've never learned anything about the culture of the Japanese, and I feel like that's like super interesting because it's completely different mindsets. Like they would literally like commit seppuku like just out of like honor. Like it's such a weird like concept to like European people. It's like what? Like and
Yeah,
like there's
it's
no
weird.
like big representation of every single culture today as much as the European one. Because like I feel like everything that is like from Europe originally has like such a deep root. Like they have like a super deep history. Like there's so many layers. Like it's like dude went from like Romans to fucking Crusaders to Knights to I don't know to gunpowder to so many different layers in such a short amount of time compared to everybody else. Like uh they pushed their settlers from Europe to America. They pushed their settlers from Europe to Indonesia. They pushed them everywhere, and it's like, dude, the European culture is like everywhere, like technically, if you really look at it. And
Yeah,
they portray a version of history that is different from every other like country. Like it's like the government in a way, since the education system in a way is the government. They teach you what they want to teach you. Like you're not taught like what you would like find out for yourself. Like unless you get to choose, you don't really get to choose. Like if you go in the education system, they say, oh, you have to do math, you have to do well, if you're in English speaking country, you have to go into English class, then you have to go this, you have to learn a second language, then it's like, dude, you don't really get a choice. Like it's like it's pushed onto you. And the only time you really get a choice is like bonus stuff. Like, oh, do you wanna like for instance, for me, when I was in school, they said, um, you can do bonus English class and you will get a special degree if you do it. But you have to work more hours. It's like, uh sure, but it's like
yeah.
I
Then
get
they
to
make it
choose
hard
that.
for you to have
Yeah,
extra time.
yeah. It's like
Like, it's, go on.
when you go to a religious school, they say you are obligated to partake in a religious classroom with the other like people. Like even though you aren't a religious person or you're from a different religion completely, like you would be persecuted if you went to like a Christian school and you were a Muslim, for instance. Like it's like, dude, like what? I that's crazy to me.
Well, it depends on how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole, my friend.
Yeah.
There are so many things that we don't know or that we're not taught about, right? Like the whole um, origin of the modern education system.
Oh
It
yeah,
happened,
yeah.
yeah, it happened during the oil boom, right? When Rockefeller was building all of his oil towers and the Rothschilds were
This
building up their
World War
banks.
Two.
Yeah, what they did was um, they were like, okay, we have all of these oil fields. We have these immense plans to build railroads, manufacture steel, mine oil, build the industrial base. And they were like, okay, where do we get all of these people from? Because most people are still farmers. They still relatively enjoy their lives, you know. They work for themselves, they
Hmm.
trade with other people. And they were like, hey, there's this country called the Prussian Empire. They're incredibly imperialist. They take over countries left and right, constantly invading places. They said, okay, how do these people quell revolutions in the countries that they invade? The answer was pretty simple. What they did was they had an education system that indoctrinated all of the kids of the people that they invaded, right? Say they roll into
Yeah.
some random country. Normally, that country would revolt within a generation or two because the parents
Yeah.
would teach their kids this Prussian Empire rolled in and took everything from us. So the Prussians set up an incredibly simple system, government funded education, mandatory for everybody. So they took all the kids of the generation of people that lived in the country and they educated them for 6 hours a day on how the Prussian Empire was the best. How they provided all of these great options, how they were always the good guy.
Propaganda and indoctrination. Yeah.
Yeah, and they never revolted. Within a generation, the countries that they invaded were as loyal to the Prussian Empire as the native Prussians. And back in the oil booms, the steel days, the railroad days, the Rockefellers said, hey, we could take this system. We can go to our buddies in the government and say, yo, this system works amazing for them. Let's do it ourselves. So they made this government funded education system in the US where they mandated all of the kids went into it. within a generation, they had all the oil workers they could possibly have, right? Everybody wanted to go work on the steel industry, to get a trade, to go work on the mines, right? And that
Mm.
system worked pretty well, for 100 years or so. Because people were like, okay, I can go get a job and I can have a nice life with a nice house. I won't work too many hours. But it stopped working because the economy is not that great. They print too much money. Because I see a lot of people in the space saying, oh, yeah, the education system is just indoctrination. It's all bad. There's no upside. But in reality, it worked pretty good for a few decades because people could get a good job, have a good family, have enough income to be comfortable. But then the gold standard was completely destroyed. The government could just print as much money as they wanted. And if you see a graph of like living expenses versus income, ever since the 1960s, it's been going in two completely different directions, right? Income has stayed pretty much the same or gone up a little bit, but the cost of housing has skyrocketed.
I've seen a meme, not really a meme, but a video about that. Like some guy was talking about like he basically like 10 years ago he ordered groceries on like a Walmart app,
Yeah,
and he wanted to reorder the groceries today and see how much that would cost. So when he ordered them like 10 years ago, they cost like approximately like $100 for like a month of groceries. And he tried reordering them today and it jumped to $430 for 1 month of groceries that he bought back then. So if people say inflation is not real, it's like, yeah, dude. Okay.
dude, I talked to my grandmother a while back, and she grew up in like the 60s and 70s. She told me that she worked a summer job part time, and she bought
Hmm.
a brand new Camaro for $3,500 off
Oh,
the lot, never used, after working a part time job.
that's crazy.
I saw another meme where it was like baby boomers selling their house that they got in 1985 for three marbles and a dime for $6 million.
Yeah, that's fucking, yeah. It's like, and that's like, it's a part of like, when your parents, like, a lot of people and their families, like, like for instance, in New Zealand, there's a lot of immigration. So, like, I'd say 30% of the population is like Pakistanis and Indians, and then 30% is Chinese. And there's a lot of people that come from a very different culture to Europeans or Americans or whatever. And for instance, like to them, um, the way of thinking about like education is very different. Like if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I'm not even saying that that's bad, right?
No, yeah.
I think that's why we see like such an uptick in the number of younger entrepreneurs because if I lived back in the 60s and I knew that I could just work a job and I could have a nice family with a good leader and, white picket fence, brand new car, enough money to go on vacations or even get a beach house, then I probably wouldn't be where I am now, you know,
Mm,
because that would be all right with me. You good life,
yeah.
good family, good everything, couple brand new cars, I would be all right. But because I know that if I continue down the normal path, I'll probably never be able to afford my own house. It's kind of like a no-brainer, you know? You either
Mm,
become some random guy living off of credit card debt and unemployment, or you
pension.
become rich. Kind
Yeah.
of the only option.
Yeah. Like I would rather be a sovereign citizen with my own like financial gain and like finances and like revenue rather than being subjected to outside forces and being like, oh, I always have to I always have to look for a better career or another job or this or that and oh the taxes, oh it's so bad. It's like why don't you just get rich and change that? Like you can, like you can really like, do anything. Like there's a lot of people that start from nothing and then build something. Like you can really. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk it was nobody. Like he did not like he
Yeah.
came from nothing. So and today is like one of the richest persons on the planet. So
And he's basically going to be the president. Like, legally, he can't be because he was born in South Africa, but
yeah.
we all know that he's like, yo, Trump, you should do this and do this. And he's like, alrighty, lad. If you say so, you're a lot smarter than me, a lot richer than me. If you say we should take the Panama Canal, I'll do it for you, Elon.
Funny orange man.
You know, Slow Joe would never take the Panama Canal. I will, though, because I've got Elon. He's got all those robots. We're going to take all those robots and we're going to make them storm the Panama Canal. We're going to send them to Greenland on Tesla. We're going to send them on starships to China.
Gonna send a Tesla to space.
We're going to get a big army of those robots he's building and we're going to take over the world, I tell you.
I wanted to talk
Everybody,
about I wanted to talk about work ethic. Like what do you think like what's your take on like work ethic, like your ruthless work ethic, what it takes to get something done faster and more efficiently than anybody else?
I think that there's a really big misconception when it comes to work ethic because
Hmm.
people think that too many things are difficult when in reality, they're not, right? Unless you're doing like some crazy intense workout or you're like hiking up a mountain, most things are pretty easy when you're doing them. You're like, man, I really don't want to get on the phone and call my dentist so I could book an appointment. It's so difficult. But once you're on the phone, you're talking to them, usually you're not thinking about that. Like, oh yeah, I'm just talking to someone. So I think a lot of people have a big misconception that everything is difficult when it's not.
Mm.
You just have to start doing it. But in terms of work ethic, I mean, once everything is easy, you don't need to have an ethic, right? You're just like, all right, I'm going to do this. Boom, it's done. I said it. Consider it already done. Do it.
Yeah,
What do you think, man?
like I think it's also like there's a lot of people that are super lazy and today because of the circumstances of everything, like food, uh drugs, even like pharmaceutical drugs, like when you get sick and you get prescribed something, it's not really like solving the problem. It's like making like dulling down your pain. It's like kind of avoiding the problem in a sense because I think if you're taking something to like when you, for example, like take a drug to like a painkiller, or you're playing a video game because you're like you don't want to like face the pain that you're currently feeling like about your situation or your predicament or your problem that you're facing right now, and you're taking that pain away and distracting yourself with something else. I feel like that takes like the power away from you, and you're not like able to do like crazy like you need to have like control over like yourself in a way that makes you able to output a certain kind of work ethic, I think.
Yeah,
For
I think
example,
that's
um
genius.
when somebody says like, "Oh, I really want to play this video game, but I've got this amount of work to do." First, even if I want to play the video game, I'm going to do the work because it's more important.
Yeah, especially with procrastinating, right? Because
Yeah.
I have no problem with like people that play video games, right? You can play all the video games you want as long as you've got your work done.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, Battlefield 7 just came out. I don't know what the new Battlefield, but yo,
Yeah.
this new game just came out. I'm gonna go play it, but I've got all this work to do. It's like, okay, you can play it. That's all right, but get your work done. Make sure that everything is all right and that you're not gonna uh, like get a bad grade or like make less money.
Yeah.
But I think once you build that mindset, it's really difficult to go back, right? Like I have an Xbox in my closet that I hardly even turn on, but when I do, when all the work is done for the day, I turn it on and I sit there and I'm like, what am I doing? You know, I play it for like
Yeah.
10 minutes shut it off, and then put it back in the closet. Because it's
I
just,
have the same thing, I think. Like, yeah, it's like, like at some point when I was growing up, I was playing a lot of video games. And like whenever I turn them back on today and I play for like 5 minutes, it's like now it's like it's not the same, like it's not the same. Like there's something missing. Like this is not fulfilling anymore. Like
yeah,
got more important shit to do, we've got bills to pay, we've got a future family to provide for. It's like it's not like the importance level of the video game is not as high as the work. So I guess after a long time like working on like on our own like business together, I feel like I've developed an addiction of sorts to like actually working. Like when I'm not working, I feel like super shameful and regretful. It's like, no, 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 I gotta go back to work. It's like there's so much to do. Like I can't just like sit around for like 4 hours and do like something else. Like I literally get stressed from not working. Like
yeah,
it makes me anxious. Like it feels like I'm missing out now.
yeah. The other day, I was watching this TV show, like a sci-fi. I think it was called The Peripheral. And I was sitting at the end of the day.
Hmm.
I pulled it up, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I watch a little bit of it, and then I'm like, wait, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I
Yeah,
don't care what happens to Steve and Granny, and if they get attacked. Like, it's not real. I don't care. And then I just ended up turning it off and going upstairs to work.
yeah. Like
Like, doesn't matter.
it's funny. Like an example I could say is like recently I like got a house or like a flat in like some like person's like flat. So I'm basically a flatmate to other people. Like they're the tenants, right? So one of them like said, "Oh, come see," and he has like the PS5, and he wanted to show me like a video game, like really how it worked and how the story was like set up and thing. It was like, dude, play this for like 10 minutes just to see and how you feel and tell me how you feel. It's like, okay, dude, like just 10 minutes. It's like just tried it out, and then I was like, yeah, sure, like it's wow, interesting. Like I I don't know, like I don't feel like I it's like it's not important. It's not real, like you said. Like it, like there's like I would rather like conquer reality than like just play a video game and like simulate my own life through somebody else's like
Yeah.
journey.
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword too. It's also based on like our perception of the time, right? Because back in
Mm,
late 1800s, early 1900s, when libraries were being rolled out across schools,
yes.
everybody was like, these kids, their memory is crumbling because they're always reading books. Books are horrible for you. And now, if you read a book, someone sees you reading a book, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're smart, you're productive because you're reading a
Yeah.
book." Because I think that a lot of genuinely good, like insightful content can be spread through the medium of video games or movies. But, you know, not a lot of people see it that way. And it's not that you should
Yeah.
spend your whole day playing shitty games or watching shitty movies, but some of the stuff is genuinely insightful, right? Sometimes the art can pop out. Sometimes it can lead you to a better understanding of life. But too many
Completely
people
agree.
use that as an excuse. Too many
Like yeah,
people.
I completely agree. So sometimes like I'm watching like I'm what I like some time ago like I watched like just like a small like TV series like it really didn't take much up of my time like it's like oh maybe like 20 minutes here this week maybe like 50 minutes here like it's kind of nothing but it's like it's really interesting when you like actually pay attention to what's being said how it's been said like how it's been created the story behind it the mentality and it's like sometimes when the characters speak, you can like take lessons out of those stories. And regardless of it's if it's a video game or a movie or something that doesn't exist, you can always like learn something from how other people see the world in that
Yeah.
like version of reality. And you can like learn a small lesson from it. Like I remember watching like a TV show, and every time like some character would do something interesting, I was like, oh, I can write that down and write it down on a piece of paper, and I
Yeah.
just think about it.
I
it
remember
gives you a lot of creative ideas as well. Like it
it
fuels
does.
your creativity.
Yeah, I remember a while back. I can't remember the movie title, but it was by A24 Studios. Came out
Hmm.
like mid 2024, and it was about like a civil war in America and like the journalists that were documenting it. It was a great movie, great visuals, great narrative, stuff like that. And in the beginning, there was like a riot, and then a suicide bomber ran into the riot holding up an American flag. And I sat there, I had to pause the movie, and I was like, damn, that's
Yeah.
some dark shit right there. Like I like a suicide bomber with holding an American flag running into a crowd. That's some heavy shit. It really made me stop
Yeah.
and think like, wow, if that does happen, if stuff like that is commonplace, then we're screwed, you know? But I do think that a lot of people use that, oh, it's art as an excuse. I see it a lot with like the
Mm.
guys that watch anime. They're like, oh yeah, it's art. It's all drawn. It's all hand drawn. And I'm like, bro, you have a neck beard. You're 300 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of people take it, like watch stuff as an excuse to, like I said earlier, live a life through somebody else, like not themselves. And I feel like that's the problem with video games. It's like the line is so blurred in a sense that it feels like you are the character when you really aren't. Like it just
Yeah,
like your brain is like transported into the game, like
especially
or the
with virtual
movie.
reality, man.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
my brother has this I think it's the Quest 3, the Meta Quest 3,
yeah.
and you
The
put
VR
that thing
headset.
on and it's like you're there. You know, you
Yeah,
look around you. And if you look around you right now, you would see the room you're in, you would see your
yeah,
computer. You put on the headset, you look around you. You physically see like the enemy standing right there, the wall over there, right? You put that
yeah,
on and it's just like if you were seeing a table in your room. It's weird. It's super weird for a video game to be able to look
yeah,
around you and see the environment. And it's like, it's really weird because when you remember it, like post event, it's not stored in the same part of your brain that the memories from a video game would be, right? Like if you say you're playing Minecraft on your computer, when
yeah,
you remember it in like 2D, like it's a screen right there that you're looking at.
yeah, yeah.
But in 3D, in VR, it's stored in the same place as your brain that all of your other real world experiences are stored in. So you remember it and you remember being there, right? I remember I put
Yes.
on my brother's headset a while back and I was playing like a Doom version of VR. I forget what it was called.
Hmm.
And when I look back on it the day after, I remember being there, like ripping apart the demons like with my hands. I remember like reaching out, seeing my hands, grabbing the demon and pulling his head into two pieces. It's a weird feeling.
Must have felt pretty cool though. But yeah.
It was dope. I had these giant machine guns and I had like these grappling hooks like you know, like grabbing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I went to like when you go to like a VR puzzle game like in a space they like buy at a hangar and inside you
Mhm.
have a whole space that you can walk in and basically the whole entire game is built inside the space. And so when you go up to the wall, like you can touch the wall like I like physically. And so like they would like put our the entire thing like it would be like a complete set like we'd have
Yeah.
a backpack with like a computer in the backpack and we would have the headset attached to the computer behind us and we would we would hold like some sort of a plastic gun I'd say and we would actually like go through the levels and fight like monsters and solve puzzles and stuff and you would be able to like play with a team of people and like go through the thing and it's like it really feels like you're there and whenever like I got out of it like I finished it um it felt weird like it felt like it like this my hands were not real anymore like
Exactly. That's exactly. It's like you take off the headset, you look down at
One second, I'm starting the recording. All right.
that, folks. It was a bit of a technical issue. I'm too
Mr.
broke
Producer,
to.
issue.
I'm too broke to buy the Zoom. It's a scam. It's fake news. I don't want to do it. So sorry about that, folks. But back to what we were talking about. It's weird because you look at your hands, and the only real difference is number one, the like the black bars around your vision and the graphics. But that's it. It feels the same, you know?
Like when you like I remember like taking the headset off and like just walking and seeing my legs and my hands. It's like, is this like real anymore? Like, is this
Yeah.
reality? Like, what the fuck is like, and for like I think 1 or 2 hours after that, like I felt like I was like in a diff like I was in a bodysuit. I wasn't in my own like body anymore. Like it felt super weird.
Yeah, that's how I felt the first time I tried it, man. And I remember I bought one a while back for the virtual displays, like to be able to have like the big monitor here and the little and like move them around
Oh
like Tony
yeah.
Stark. But it actually sucks ass. Like the screens are terrible. It hurts to have the headset on, so I just
Yeah.
returned it. But what I'm saying is once we have VR that's indistinguishable from reality, like perfectly light headset fits on, you don't even feel it, full sensory like haptic suit where you can't even tell. Once you put that headset on for the first time, there's no way to tell if you actually ever left. Like someone could have just simulated you taking the thing off, but actually kept you in a little prison cell inside your digital simulation, and you would never know.
That is, yeah. There's a lot of movies and games and like stories that are like about that.
Yeah, I read a book recently. It was called Infinite,
Hmm.
about this guy that was immortal from like some science experiment on a big rocket ship going to another planet for like colonization efforts. Everybody on the ship died, um, and he was completely alone. He would live forever, so he created this simulation where he could live in a normal world instead of being trapped on a spaceship for all eternity.
Hmm.
He entered the VR headset, completely buried himself in the virtual world, but then the AI that controlled it started to go haywire. So he decided to shut it down, take off the headset, and try to build a new one. He goes through this whole storyline. And then at the very end, he discovers, yo, wait, I never actually left the simulation. The AI that I designed to make me as happy as possible decided to fool me into thinking I took the
That's
headset off
crazy.
so that I could stay in their simulation. It was a trip at the end. I think I'm gonna start carrying like a what was that movie, Inception, where they had like the little things that they could
Yeah.
tell. I think I'm
Yeah,
gonna start carrying one of those around,
yeah.
like a little chess piece or like a coin that I only know exists. And if I check one
Hmm.
day and it's not there and I can't find it anywhere, then I guess I'm not real.
Yeah. That would be so weird. Like just thinking about the fact that like indistinguishable reality from the simulation is a
Yeah,
scary concept.
it is. I wonder how many people would be like, yo, this world sucks, and then just plug themselves into an IV and like a feeding tube and just never come out, you know? That's a scary concept.
I yeah, like if like if you think about it, like society, if we continue forward towards something similar to I don't know, like Blade Runner or Cyberpunk or something like that, I feel like there's a lot of people. If it's gonna become more and more like the more you advance in the tech, the cheaper it's gonna be and more affordable it's gonna be for the lower classes. So imagine like if all of the lower class people that feel like, oh, my life is shit right now, I don't want to like think about this, like they just plug into an IV and then end of story. Like,
Yeah. I think it would also be incredibly trippy, even now, to think about like, say you wake up one morning and you're in a completely different room. You have a completely different body. You turn to the person standing over you and you say, "Where am I? Was I in a coma?" And they're like, "No, you're just testing out this new VR technology that we have. It slows down
What
the
the fuck?
rate." Yeah, I saw this technology that was still experimental for prisons, and it would use this drug and like electrodes to make the prisoner think that they spent 10 years somewhere. It would speed up your perception, right? You could sit in the chamber and you could experience 10 years, but you come out and it's only been like 3 months. And then you have to think, okay, if this technology is plausible and it's inevitable, then who's to say that we're not already there and that we'll just wake up one morning somewhere else? You're like, yo, you okay, bro? You were just in a simulation for 5 minutes. And you're like, whoa.
Whoa, yeah, yeah. Uh,
Or like the uh, the guy who smoked salvia and
oh
he
yeah, I heard
was it
that.
salvia or coma? I
Yeah, I
think there's
heard
two
that.
different stories where he woke up. Um,
Yeah, like
he
three
saw like
minutes
a funny
spent, and it's
lamp.
like felt like 3, 6 months, like or like 30 years for like 20 minutes. It's like what the
Yeah.
fuck?
And from his perspective, he lived this whole life and he saw this one like funny looking lamp. And he was like, wait, wait, wait,
Oh
wait.
yeah.
That doesn't look right. And then he just woke up and it had been like 20 minutes.
That that is something I do not wish to experience. I would rather not.
That's why I'm never plugging a chip into my head, bro. Or
Yeah.
any type of fully immersive VR. If
There
someone
is
says,
no
yo,
USB cable that is going into my brain cells, my friend.
Neuralink, nah, I call that a link.
No link, my friend. No.
Like if someone walked up to me and they were like, yo, we got this VR headset. The simulation is completely indistinguishable from reality. I'm like, yeah, no, bro.
Nah, 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 dude. Crazy, crazy conspiracy theory.
You
Imagine
know
the
I like
people
those.
that created the video games and that made people go into video games. Like so many people today are like kind of addicted to video games because they wish to live like a certain life, but they can't live it through their own life in reality because they're like either too lazy, to this, to blah 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 excuses. And imagine if this was all an elaborate plan so that when the simulation that is indistinguishable from reality is introduced into the masses, people are like, yes, I want that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, man. I mean, it could be. Imagine one day they say, yo, we got
It's
this
like
perfect technology.
you
And everyone's like,
remember
yeah,
when they started talking about aliens and like now today it's like regular like or everybody's like oh aliens yeah yeah okay it's like
yeah,
they made people understand like oh it's not so bad it's like it's okay dude like it's just an alien it's like what
yeah. And then you think a little bit longer about it and you realize, okay, if this is all some super high technology simulation and you'll live out the rest of your life and then die, and then you'll go to heaven and then everything will be fine. You think like, well, then at that point, does it actually matter? You know, if your whole life's going to be the same and reality in of itself was just this complex simulation, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Hmm. I think there's a deep hole there that we gotta be careful of because there's a lot of nihilistic people that go down that road, the hole. And it's like, oh, if we die and nothing happens, then what's the point of doing anything in the first place? It's like,
Yeah. I've also
yeah,
thought
wow.
about like what reality even is. Like, say this is
Mm,
base reality. This is the only real concrete reality that there is.
mm,
The more you zoom in, the more you find that it's just information, right?
mm,
Like the quantum state of a particle, the upspin, downspin of an atom, the
mm,
electromagnetic fields, everything is just information and energy. So
mm.
if that's not real, then a computer simulation is just as real, like a super advanced simulation.
Mm.
There's If you create like a perfectly simulated version of our reality, is it any different or does it actually matter? You know, did we just create some other universe? Because if our universe is just information and this is base reality, then I guess a computer simulation is no different. It's just as real as we are, you know.
Mm.
But that's a rabbit hole we'll go into on the next episode. I've got to go
Yep.
eat dinner. We got to wrap this up. So send me this recording so
Yep.
I can edit it, put the clips together. It was great talking to you, man. I love hopping
Yep.
on these pods.
Hell yeah, dude.
Everybody in the audience, hope you enjoyed and peace out.